SpongeBob works for basically free. And I mean basically free. Throughout the series, we get hints that SpongeBob makes almost nothing at the Krusty Krab. In Bummer Vacation, SpongeBob mentions his paycheck is so small it's basically pocket change. In several episodes, we see Mr. Krabs literally paying SpongeBob in fake money or not paying him at all. But here's the thing, SpongeBob doesn't care. He's so obsessed with his job that he'd probably work for free if Mr. Krabs asked him to. In fact, there are episodes where SpongeBob pays Mr. Krabs for the privilege of working. He's literally the cheapest employee possible. Now, from Mr. Krabs' perspective, why would you ever fire someone who does the work of a full-time employee but costs you almost nothing? Even if SpongeBob causes problems occasionally, the money Mr. Krabs saves on his salary makes up for it. SpongeBob is essentially slave labor, and Mr. Krabs knows he'll never find another employee willing to work for those conditions. That's actually really dark when you think about it. Mr. Krabs is exploiting SpongeBob's naivety and desperation to work at the Krusty Krab. But from a business standpoint, it makes perfect sense why he'd never fire him. SpongeBob's unmatched work ethic. Say what you want about SpongeBob being annoying or causing problems, but the dude is dedicated. He shows up early, he stays late, he works weekends and holidays. He's never called in sick. He literally loves his job so much that he works even when he's not supposed to. In Graveyard Shift, SpongeBob is thrilled about working the night shift. In Fear of a Krabby Patty, he works 24 hours a day for weeks without complaining. In Bummer Vacation, when Mr. Krabs forces him to take time off, SpongeBob has a mental breakdown because he can't work. In Employee of the Month, we learn SpongeBob has won that award 374 consecutive times. Think about how rare that kind of dedication is. Most employees try to do the bare minimum. They take sick days. They show up late. They cut corners. But SpongeBob? He gives 110% every single day, even when nobody's watching. He genuinely cares about making the perfect Krabby Patty and providing excellent customer service. From Mr. Krabs' perspective, that's invaluable. You can't teach someone to care that much about their job. You can't train someone to have that level of passion and dedication. SpongeBob has something that money can't buy, genuine love for what he does. And Mr. Krabs knows that if he fires SpongeBob, he'll never find another employee with even half that dedication. SpongeBob's actual cooking talent. Now, I know SpongeBob causes a lot of problems, but let's not forget, the dude can cook. He makes the best Krabby Patties in Bikini Bottom. Customers constantly rave about how delicious the food is. The Krusty Krab's entire reputation is built on the quality of SpongeBob's cooking. In Neptune's Spatula, King Neptune himself admits that SpongeBob is a better cook than he is. In the original Fry Cook, we see that even Jim, the legendary first fry cook, recognizes SpongeBob's talent. In Le Big Switch, when SpongeBob works at the fancy restaurant, even the sophisticated customers love his food. The guy is legitimately talented, and here's the key thing. SpongeBob's talent is specifically for making Krabby Patties. He's not just a good cook in general, he's mastered the specific art of making the Krusty Krab's signature item. If Mr. Krabs fired him, he'd have to find someone else who could replicate that quality, and that's basically impossible. We've seen this in episodes where SpongeBob is temporarily replaced. In SpongeBob You're Fired, the Krusty Krab falls apart without him. In Squid's Day Off, when SpongeBob isn't there, the restaurant doesn't function properly. SpongeBob isn't just a fry cook, he's the fry cook. He's irreplaceable. So even when SpongeBob messes up in other areas, Mr. Krabs can't fire him because he needs SpongeBob's cooking skills. The quality of the food is what keeps customers coming back, and only SpongeBob can deliver that quality consistently. Mr. Krabs is emotionally manipulating SpongeBob to keep him dependent. Think about it. Mr. Krabs constantly tells SpongeBob how special he is, how much he needs him, how nobody else could do what he does. He gives SpongeBob Employee of the Month every single month, making him feel valued and irreplaceable. But at the same time, Mr. Krabs also tears SpongeBob down when needed. When SpongeBob asks for a raise, Mr. Krabs makes him feel guilty or undeserving. When SpongeBob makes mistakes, Mr. Krabs threatens to fire him, keeping him in a constant state of anxiety about losing his job. This is classic emotional manipulation. Mr. Krabs has created a situation where SpongeBob is completely dependent on the Krusty Krab for his self-worth and identity. SpongeBob's entire life revolves around being a fry cook, and Mr. Krabs has reinforced that to the point where SpongeBob can't imagine doing anything else. Why would Mr. Krabs ever fire someone he has this much control over? SpongeBob is the perfect employee from an exploitative boss's perspective. He works hard, accepts terrible pay, never complains, and is so emotionally attached to the job that he'd do anything to keep it. Mr. Krabs has trapped SpongeBob in a cycle of dependency, and firing him would mean losing that control. That's actually really sinister when you think about it. Mr. Krabs isn't keeping SpongeBob around out of kindness. He's keeping him around because he's figured out the perfect system of exploitation. The secret formula. SpongeBob is one of the only people who knows the Krabby Patty secret formula. He uses it every single day to make patties. And while Mr. Krabs is obsessive about keeping the formula secret, he trusts SpongeBob with it completely. Now, here's the dark part. If Mr. Krabs fired SpongeBob, what's to stop SpongeBob from sharing that formula? Whether out of spite or sadness or just because he's too naive to understand its value, SpongeBob could accidentally or intentionally reveal the secret formula to competitors. In the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Plankton literally uses mind control to get SpongeBob to reveal the formula, showing that SpongeBob is a potential security risk. But Mr. Krabs keeps him employed anyway because having SpongeBob inside the Krusty Krab, where he can be monitored and controlled, is safer than having him out in the world as a potential leak. It's basically a hostage situation, but reversed. Mr. Krabs can't fire SpongeBob because SpongeBob knows too much. The moment SpongeBob is no longer an employee, he becomes a liability. So Mr. Krabs has to keep him employed, keep him happy, and keep him loyal to ensure the formula stays safe. That's actually a really smart business move, but it also means SpongeBob is trapped. He literally can't be fired because he knows too much. Even if Mr. Krabs wanted to fire him, he couldn't risk it. SpongeBob's emotional dependency on Mr. Krabs. Throughout the series, we see that SpongeBob views Mr. Krabs as a father figure. He constantly seeks Mr. Krabs' approval. He calls him Mr. Krabs with reverence and respect. He's devastated when Mr. Krabs is disappointed in him. In Born Again Krabs, when SpongeBob thinks Mr. Krabs sold his soul for 62 cents, he's absolutely heartbroken. In Squid on Strike, when SpongeBob has to choose between his job and supporting Squidward, he can barely handle the conflict. In Hooky, when Mr. Krabs is mad at him, SpongeBob falls apart. And here's the thing, Mr. Krabs knows this. He knows SpongeBob sees him as a father figure. He knows SpongeBob craves his approval. And I think on some level, Mr. Krabs actually cares about SpongeBob too. Not enough to pay him fairly or treat him well, but enough that firing him would feel like abandoning a son. In Krusty Love, we see Mr. Krabs genuinely panic when he thinks he's upset SpongeBob. In Friend or Foe, we learn Mr. Krabs understands the pain of losing a friendship. In several episodes, we see glimpses of Mr. Krabs actually caring about SpongeBob's well-being, at least a little bit. So there's this weird dynamic where Mr. Krabs can't fire SpongeBob because doing so would be like disowning his own child. And despite being greedy and selfish, Mr. Krabs apparently has just enough heart that he can't bring himself to do that. Or maybe he's just worried that if he fires SpongeBob, SpongeBob would be so devastated that it would cause problems for the Krusty Krab. Either way, their emotional connection makes SpongeBob unfireable. SpongeBob's popularity with customers. Now, this is a weird one because SpongeBob also annoys a lot of customers. But here's the thing. A significant portion of the Krusty Krab's customer base actually likes SpongeBob. They think he's entertaining. They enjoy his enthusiasm. Kids especially love him. In As Seen on TV, after SpongeBob appears in a Krusty Krab commercial, people recognize him and want to meet him. In Model Sponge, SpongeBob becomes the face of the Krusty Krab in advertisements. In SpongeBob You're Fired, when other restaurants hire SpongeBob, customers follow him there. SpongeBob has become synonymous with the Krusty Krab brand. He's not just an employee, he's a mascot, a celebrity, a draw. People don't just come to the Krusty Krab for the food, some come hoping to see SpongeBob's antics. He's part of the experience. And Mr. Krabs, being a savvy businessman, understands this. Firing SpongeBob wouldn't just mean losing a fry cook, it would mean losing a marketing asset. Customers would be upset, some might even boycott the restaurant. Where's SpongeBob, they'd ask, and Mr. Krabs would lose business. So SpongeBob's popularity actually protects him from being fired. He's too valuable as a brand representative to let go, even when he causes problems behind the scenes. Mr. Krabs literally cannot find anyone else willing to work for him. Think about this. Throughout the series, we've seen Mr. Krabs try to hire other employees, and every single time it's a disaster. In The Algae's Always Greener, when Plankton switches lives with Mr. Krabs, he can't handle managing SpongeBob and immediately wants to switch back. In SpongeBob You're Fired, Mr. Krabs tries to save money by firing SpongeBob, but the replacements he hires are all terrible. In Squid on Strike, when Squidward convinces SpongeBob to strike, Mr. Krabs has to beg them to come back because he can't run the restaurant alone. The reality is that nobody else wants to work at the Krusty Krab. The pay is terrible, the boss is abusive, the working conditions are questionable at best. The only reason SpongeBob works there is because he's too naive and obsessed to realize how bad the job actually is. Mr. Krabs knows this. He knows that if he fires SpongeBob, he won't find another employee. Or if he does find someone, they'll demand actual minimum wage, actual benefits, actual respect. They won't work for pennies like SpongeBob does. They won't tolerate Mr. Krabs' abuse like SpongeBob does. So Mr. Krabs is stuck. He can't fire SpongeBob because SpongeBob is the only person willing to work under those conditions. And if SpongeBob leaves, the Krusty Krab shuts down. Mr. Krabs isn't keeping SpongeBob employed out of loyalty. He's keeping him employed out of desperation. That's actually really sad for both of them. SpongeBob is trapped in a job that exploits him, and Mr. Krabs is trapped with an employee he can't replace. They're stuck in this toxic codependent relationship where neither one can leave. The legal implications of firing SpongeBob. Now, this is something the show never explicitly addresses, but think about it. If Mr. Krabs fired SpongeBob, SpongeBob would have grounds for a massive lawsuit. SpongeBob has been Employee of the Month 374 plus consecutive times. He has a perfect work record. He's dedicated, talented, and reliable. If Mr. Krabs fired him without cause, SpongeBob could sue for wrongful termination. And given SpongeBob's track record, he'd probably win. But it gets worse. SpongeBob has been subjected to unsafe working conditions, inadequate pay, verbal abuse, and exploitation. If he ever realized his rights and got a lawyer, he could take Mr. Krabs for everything he's worth. We're talking back pay, damages, emotional distress. The lawsuit would destroy the Krusty Krab financially. The only reason this hasn't happened is because SpongeBob is too naive to realize he's being exploited. But if Mr. Krabs fired him, SpongeBob might finally wake up and realize how badly he's been treated. And that would be catastrophic for Mr. Krabs. So Mr. Krabs keeps SpongeBob employed, partly because firing him would open up a legal nightmare. As long as SpongeBob is happy and employed, he won't question the arrangement. But the moment he's fired and has time to think about it, the whole house of cards could collapse. That's actually really sinister. Mr. Krabs isn't just exploiting SpongeBob. He's also terrified of what would happen if SpongeBob ever realized he was being exploited. But now, let's get to the number one real reason SpongeBob never gets fired. SpongeBob has made himself completely indispensable by designing the entire Krusty Krab operation around himself. Over the years, SpongeBob has essentially taken over every aspect of the restaurant. He's not just a fry cook, he's the manager, cleaner, maintenance worker, and problem solver. When anything breaks, SpongeBob fixes it. The entire operation has been built around his specific skills and systems. In Squid's Day Off, we see that without SpongeBob maintaining his elaborate systems, everything falls apart. In The Krusty Sponge, the restaurant literally becomes SpongeBob-themed because he's so central to its success. Here's the dark genius of it. SpongeBob has made the Krusty Krab so dependent on him that it literally cannot function without him. Replacing him wouldn't just mean hiring a new fry cook. It would mean completely restructuring the entire business. And Mr. Krabs isn't willing to invest that time, money, and effort. But what if SpongeBob knows exactly what he's doing? What if his seeming naivety is actually calculated? SpongeBob is obsessed with keeping his job. It's his entire identity. What if subconsciously he's been making himself indispensable as a survival strategy? Think about it. All those times he takes on extra responsibilities, creates new systems, inserts himself into every function. What if that's not just enthusiasm, but strategic self-preservation? SpongeBob might actually be the smartest character in the show, playing 4D chess with his employment security, while everyone thinks he's just a naive sponge who loves his job. The employee-employer relationship at the Krusty Krab seems one-sided, with Mr. Krabs exploiting SpongeBob. But really, SpongeBob might be the one in control. He has unshakable job security. He can cause chaos, drive away customers, create disasters, and he'll never get fired because he's made himself irreplaceable. That's either the luckiest accident ever or the most brilliant long-term strategy ever executed.